I mean, I have in years past.
Did you get your agenda? Did you get you an agenda? I laid them on the desk. I already went through. Yeah, there's one.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill, welcome back.
Good. I'm good. Hey, let's see. Right.
Welcome.
I've been better at 3:00.
Bill, we missed you.
Well, I missed being here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was. Okay, we'll do that.
Nothing's. No.
He's right on the front row.
Okay. All right.
He's signing in though, so you can just.
So how many minutes? I mean,
There.
4.
I'm good. And so,
How many people are here? We have.
Oh, I'm glad we did get to see you. How are you? Good. Anything going on?
They should be fine.
Okay.
And then Benitez isn't gonna be here.
Is that the language?
She said he wasn't coming.
Yeah, what's the name?
I told you, I thought she was doing
In the past.
She was saying, Mila said. They said about Krista. Yeah, Krista, they're an emergency in the family or something. That's what Mila said.
X-ray. 2 weeks ago. She hadn't been here. For 13 years. Not like her to me.
Yeah, she did with me. I think the last one she was.
Got to determine who that is.
was the,
What's that? So, it's good meeting you.
which one? Oh, that one. Oh, okay. It's 5:31 here.
Is it? Yeah. Call this meeting to order, the Oak Hill City Council for May 8th, 2023, 5:30. And before we proceed, I think most people know that a businessman, a civic leader, and a former member of the House of Delegates from this county has died, Tom Luises. And I think that it's altogether fitting and proper that we observe a moment of silence to remember Tom and the many things he did do for Fayette County. Okay, thank you. The clerk will call the roll.
Here, Daniel Wright,
Here.
Council at Large, Tom Oxley. Ward 1 council members, Diana Janey. Here. Krista Hodges. David Perry.
Here.
Ward 2 council members, Stephen Hazlett,
Here.
Charles Smallwood Jr.,
Here.
Benitez Jackson. We have a quorum, sir.
The invocation tonight will be offered by the Reverend Doug Holly, pastor of the Virginia Street Baptist Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilwoman Janey.
Heavenly Father, we love you. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Lord, we ask, bless our little town. We ask, Lord, that you just bless the people involved with making decisions, give them wisdom. Lord, we ask, protect our police officers, our firefighters, Lord, those who protect us every day. Lord, we know that any decisions to be made in this room, Lord, everything be said and done to uplift and magnify your name. Lord, we ask you all in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Before we proceed, is there anyone who may have come in here a minute or two late who wants to sign up to speak regarding the bridge or any other item? That's it? No one? All right. Regarding the reading and approval of the minutes, is there a motion?
Mayor, I move the minutes be accepted as having been presented.
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded, that be accepted as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. The reading and approval of the minutes. Now we move to the treasurer's report. Is there a motion regarding it?
Mayor, I move that the treasurer's report be accepted as having been presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded, the treasurer's report be accepted as presented by the treasurer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. Madam Clerk, any correspondence to the city council?
Yes, sir. We received a thank you letter from Steve Baines. If you'd like, I'd read it or I can pass it around.
You can read it, be okay.
City Council of Oak Hill, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Thank you so very much for the Spirit of Oak Hill Award. I'm sorry I was out of town at a high school ball game at the time of the meeting. I do wish to thank the City Council for this wonderful honor. Being able to get to know and offer some little assistance to students in the Oak Hill school system has certainly been enjoyable to me personally. Again, thank you so much for this special honor, Steve Baines.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Mayor,
Sir,
I would like to ask unanimous consent that the agenda be reordered in order to accommodate some reports from the Department of Highways. The District 9 manager has driven a long way from Greenbrier, and he would like to get back to Greenbrier to get ready for tomorrow's schedule. Also, we haven't heard from the Beautification Committee for a period of time, and I'd like to ask that Ms. Lively be granted to speak. And also, we have a former Board of Education member here who is here to talk about Energy Express. And those persons may, if we reorder, would enjoy an extended amount of time. And the folks from Minden have requested to speak at such time the Minden issue comes up. So I would ask the reorder to include those people for those specific times.
all right, the people who are here to speak about the Minden Bridge who want to speak at the time that it's on the agenda, is that Daryl Thomas, Elmer Rolls, Vicky Pizzino. All right, I'll add you there.
I would ask that they speak, I'm sorry. I would ask they speak before, not to roast our District 9 engineer, but so that he could hear the public comments if he would like. So so
what's this?
when we get to Department of Highways report.
Someone Other. Yes, sir. Your last name? Jones. So you are another speaker from Minden. So those are the 5 Minden speakers, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Jones, Mr. Rolls, and Frank Ward, Mr. Ward, and Ms. Pizzino. Is there anyone else from Minden who's going to speak at the time on the agenda? That's everyone from Minden who's going to speak at the agenda time. All right. All right. Okay, no one else. All right. So, Mr. Perry, you're asking that the agenda be reordered for those three: Highway, Beautification, and Energy Express as reports.
And Minden, yes, that's 4.
Minden. Well, is Minden will be at the
Yes, at the time.
At the
But I've
spot,
asked
yes,
that they
at
be
the-
permitted to
but
speak.
not before.
I've asked that they be permitted to speak prior to the District 9's presentation so that he could hear their concerns and their public comments.
So we're gonna let them, they should speak first then, won't they? But if the highways man is gonna listen to them.
After you've done the citizen comments.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, the agenda is reordered, and we'll begin with the
Public comment.
public comments with the highway engineer.
No, those have signed up apart from my reordering.
Oh, well, I have beautification here, highway here, and Energy Express here.
Okay.
I've got those three.
And part of that was they would be extended additional time.
All right,
Because the
so,
reports are giving.
all right, we'll start with the highway engineer.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. My name's Jim Moore. I'm the District 9 engineer. We cover 5 counties, including Fayette County and the beautiful town of Oak Hill. As we are all aware, we recently took out a bridge in Minden. And I'm going to start right off the bat with an apology. We put a lot of engineering evaluation into that decision to take the bridge out. But where I failed was to talk to the town and provide a media release to explain why we took the bridge out. Because when it's in your back door, that is hard to understand. But what I want to do is just walk through the reasoning that we put into that decision. And the bridge originally was built somewhere around 1950. And the last major rebuild was in 1983. It's a 30-foot span bridge. It's been there for a long time. It's what's called a continuous steel wide flange beam bridge. That doesn't mean anything, but it's concrete abutments with a pier and one long or a set of long beams that stretch across all that to provide a roadway. There's a national bridge inspection program, and that bridge is on that program and had to be inspected. But due to its critical nature over the past few inspections, it had to be on a 6-year evaluation cycle or a 6-month evaluation cycle instead of a year evaluation cycle. And the last inspection was in December of 2023 or 2022, right before the new year. And what we found during that inspection were several things that all totaled up to being the bridge was in critical condition. Not good, fair, poor, but critical condition. The first abutment was in poor condition to the point the concrete is old concrete, 1950 concrete, and it's spalling. The abutment, I'm sorry, the abutment is a laid up stone abutment that has mortar. It's grouted together rocks. The mortar has come out of those rocks. There's really nothing holding those rocks together, or very little holding those rocks together. And it has moved to a point that the steel beams that sit on top of that abutment are now no longer really sitting on the abutment. There's gaps where they're just basically sitting in the air for 4 of those beams that the folks were driving across. Then you get out to the pier, and it is a concrete pier. It's not really scoured out. The floor of the creek isn't really leaving, but it's old concrete. And the inspection used words like widespread severe spalling, to the point that it's becoming friable. Basically, the concrete is rotten, okay? Just to put it in layman's terms, it's, if you've ever seen concrete before, you can actually break pieces with your hand when it gets too bad. And that's almost to the point that this pier was at. Below or at the water line, it had actually spalled off or broken away to where that pier was basically sitting on a large rock. It was not sitting on bedrock. It was no longer founded very well. The one good part of the bridge was abutment number 2, and it was in reasonably good shape. We call it fair condition. Not good, but fair condition. So that was halfway decent. Then when we look at the superstructure from the steel beams up, those beams suffered anywhere from 20 to 40% section loss, with some of them being completely perforated. Either the flange or the web, there was no steel left. So the support of those beams, the strength of those beams was gone. So all of that added up to the bridge being in critical condition. Like I say, not good, fair, or poor condition, but critical condition. We would have had to close the bridge regardless. Now, where we made a mistake is instead of just closing the bridge, putting signs up and talking to the city and communicating to you all why we did that, we just jumped out there and took the beams out. There is reason for that as well. We have seen whenever we put signs up, whenever we put guardrail up, whenever we put real steel beams in to keep traffic off of a bridge, generally the public will find a way to still use that bridge. And it is a severe liability when we have a structure in critical condition to allow people to continue to drive across that bridge or even walk across that bridge. If somebody falls through, then we're liable for the damages that you would sustain from that. So we jumped out there and we removed the superstructure and the deck. In our evaluation, a couple of things we did look at. It wasn't just the condition of the bridge. We looked at the floodplain, the FEMA floodplain maps, and saw really there was very little difference between the floodplain at that bridge and the other bridge. It was 1,000 feet upstream, and the bridge upstream is in good condition. Not excellent, but good condition. It rates very well. We also used our mind's eye and decided, most of the people that live in that area are probably coming to Oak Hill on a daily basis. I know there are probably people that use the bridge we took out and maybe turn right to go to the post office. That's the one thing I couldn't get away from is we have made the distance to the post office longer by about 2,000 feet. We even looked at if we did replace the bridge, it wouldn't be the same size bridge that's there because we are all aware that it floods. And you can't get across it during extreme storms. And we are required to meet the current codes for bridges, which means the new bridge would probably be taller or a longer span or wider, which would impact people at the corners of the bridge, those property owners. We may have had to actually buy their property since the bridge would have to be larger. And last but not least, the cost to replace that bridge is probably somewhere around $300,000 to $500,000. So all of that combined, when we have a very good bridge, 1,000 feet upstream, led us to say, okay, let's take the bridge out. Let's not replace it. And I can tell you that same discussion was started probably back in 2012-ish when the Division of Highways improved McKendree Road, where Menden Road used to go and make a couple L turns through Menden. And somewhere around 2012, the Division of Highways improved McKendree Road to provide a straighter access through Menden, both for the public and the tourism traffic that comes into that area. And even then, I can remember having discussions with the bridge engineer at that time about how the bridge we took out is redundant to the other bridge. It really, I'm sure now I'm very, very aware that people ride their four-wheelers around the loop. They may walk in the evening around that loop. But when we look at all of these things, the existing bridge that's still there in place upstream provides very good access to the area. For 99% of the time, it's the 1% of the time when it's flooding that I've heard concerns that the bridge we removed stayed open for a little while longer and gave people that extra 10 minutes to 30 minutes to get their car out. And that's something in our overall evaluation, we couldn't really tell that in what we looked at. But again, the biggest mistake I believe that I made or we made is not conveying why we did what we did. I can tell you that currently the bridge is not slated for replacement. It's not on any plan anywhere right now. If one of the primary concerns is flooding and getting out during flood issues, I know when I briefly spoke with the city manager before, one of the things that maybe even the town would be interested in is finding an alternate route out of Mendon that would be good during flood events. But that's basically all I have to say for now. I will, I can listen to their comments and if necessary, I can address some of them.
I appreciate your time and your explanation as to why the bridge was taken out. Just please take into consideration why we were so angry is we weren't notified as to why it was being taken out.
And I personally accept responsibility for that. I should have, and I neglected to get that out to explain why we did what we did.
I do appreciate your time coming. And I did see the pictures of the understructure of the bridge, and it was in horrible condition. And hopefully we can move forward with a replacement.
Mayor, I have some questions and a few comments.
Yes, sir.
Jim, let me say the city of Oak Hill through Day and the city manager have had an excellent working relationship with you as well as council. And it's been productive to be able to sit down over a cup of coffee and come to decisions. However, and I understand the wisdom and the engineering to say it was unsafe. And certainly no one would want anyone to cross an unsafe bridge. However, number one, I'd ask that a report, you alluded to a report. I'd like to ask that report be made available, and may already be the copy of the report about the bridge.
I don't think we've provided that entire report to the city, no.
I'd like to see a copy of that.
I did have a few pictures and I think I left those
I
with
sent
you
the
all.
pictures out.
Yeah,
And I really don't, absence that report, I don't think all the factors have been considered. And that's no disrespect to you because I've not seen the report. But, when I look at that, number one, it's a tourist area. There are large buses that go down that road and travel trailers and so forth, meaning from time to time, it affects the flow of the citizens who would have used that bridge. And you alluded to the post office, you alluded to, and again, no disrespect. However, in terms of traffic, tourism, in terms of, and I heard you say it was in the floodplain, but I do know that it's higher than the other bridge and allows those folks to come across and get up on the hill, so to speak. And Mendon floods quite often, unnecessarily. So, and as well, there's a school bus issue. My understanding that the school bus used that bridge, and again, not ignoring the safety factor, but that causes that school bus to have to turn around on private property, which at any time the private property could disallow that, and come back up the road and swing out into the road. So tourism, evacuation, school buses, and you know, I heard you say $300,000 up to 500, which, you know, you said it's not on a replacement list. My first question was, how does that get on a price placement list?
Currently, the state of West Virginia has over 7,000 bridges. District 9, we have about 650, and in Fayette County alone, there's 300 bridges. We have a bridge evaluation program. And then typically at the local level, at the district level, for these smaller structures, we prioritize those for whatever available funding happens to be out there at that particular time.
So it's prioritized at the local level,
Yes,
but it could be included in a special appropriation from the legislature
a lot of that,
if roads and transportation.
I'm not going to say it can't. Typically, our money for highways comes from either the state road fund or a federal highway appropriation bill. Those get distributed out to the 10 districts, and the district engineers with all their support staff are tasked with trying to get the most bang for the buck for all of those programs, even the federal aid program. Now, a large bridge, like we were going to do something on New River Gorge Bridge, some of the large structures, those actually get prioritized out of Charleston, but these smaller structures,
Locally.
typically we do those locally.
And you alluded to the fact that perhaps the property owners, if you need it, and I really personally don't see that as being a major issue. I think the right side may be Mr. Duncan. The left side, it used to be Willie Williams. I also understand that our GIS coordinator has prepared information. Am I misled on that or? Okay, but no, you might make it available to Jim. So I'm kind of like Mr. Hazlett. I know everybody wants their piece of the action, but again, in light of tourism, in light of evacuation, in light of traffic flow in the school buses, I personally, as a council in the city of Oak Hill, would like to see consideration given to replace that bridge and get it on a list somewhere. And I think tourism is a big factor. Probably before your time, if you remember, the tunnel, the tunnel had to be lowered. You may not be aware of that.
Which tunnel? Under amendment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to be, okay, I didn't know whether you were part of that, not, I think Jim Legas and maybe Mike Cobb was, and that was maybe 500,000 or to lower that to facilitate tourism.
Correct.
So anyway, with that said, thank you again for being here. Thank you for accepting some of the responsibility for us not being able to inform the public, but those factors I think should be considered if it's reviewed and looked at. And again, I'll echo my colleague. I think it needs to be replaced in the interest of tourism and the citizens. So, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for your comments.
Any more questions for Mr. Moore? Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
They will speak next. Now we'll have the people from Minden who have signed up to make their opinions known. So Mr. Moore can hear those. That would be Mr. Thomas is the first one.
He stood up here and talked about funding for different departments, funding for this, funding for that. Then you got to turn around, you got a governor sits on TV, got all these millions of dollars, you don't know what to do with. Why not request for those funds? I mean, what you did, you not only made us mad, but you made these people acceptable when it comes to flooding. I mean, it floods at the upper part of Minden. They gave them ample time to get their vehicles up out of on the lot up there, come back, get their lawnmowers, their weed eaters, whatever else they could get up. But now I jumped on the four-wheeler and I did the trip meter from Marie Collins's house. It's exactly a little bit over a mile now. She's got to travel to get her parked car out of the way. Not only that, she got to walk over a mile back. So yes, it's not just it's a necessity, but it's also vital to us. Taking that bridge out was just plain wrong. It was underhanded. You should have told us first. we should have had time to speak up and done it before you took it out. You did it, you come like a thief in the night and you did it. Exactly what you did. But on top of that, I mean, the school buses use it. UPS, FedEx, everybody uses it on a daily basis, not just people that live around it, but other people on the hillsides. I mean, it's definitely an inconvenience now. Not only that, but like I said, vital. And you shouldn't have done it. We want our bridge back. Thanks.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I got pictures of the bridge down at the bottom of Daisy Hill when it flooded in 2001. It washed that out. It was a concrete thing and it washed it out. And it hadn't been for this bridge right there where they took out, we couldn't got out of there that evening. That was our only way to get our families out. But then we had to go out across this bridge, go through Ace and come out of Gatewood to get out of there because everything else up the road was blocked off. That was the only way we had to get out. Because you can't pin on that bridge down at the bottom of Daisy Hill because it washed it out too. And the one up above there, he says you can go up and cross it. No, the water's up there, it's that deep and it'll stay there for a long time because there's poor drainage there. And when you drive out in the middle of that, it's deep because it just backs up right there. And like I said, one for that, we was done for. And I don't think it's right. And I got pictures. I can show you the pictures of the flood and all that in 2001. I got it all right here. It was bad. And thank goodness for that bridge. Because we didn't get out of there at 8 o'clock at night. And we had to go, it was just lucky we got to go through Ace and get out of there. But if that bridge hadn't been there, I'd had to walk out across the mountain and got out. In the Sanger. And they got a lot of old people down there, they can't do that. So I like to have our bridge back. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, could you make those pictures available to Jim Moore?
Mr. Rolls.
Yeah, I think Mr. Perry covered a lot of the issues I was want to talk about the buses and everything else. But the first bridge is not 2 foot deep. I mean, every time it rains, it usually floods and stuff. And like I said, that was the main bridge we used to get out and stuff. So, but, if you go now with a new intersection, we have to turn to come back towards the post office. You got to turn out into oncoming traffic to be legal. So it's just a switchback. You can't do it. But there is a triangle there, but they got a white line to it. So if you drive through the white lines, you're doing it illegal, right? So now if you got to turn back to the post office, you got to do it illegally. That or turn into oncoming traffic. I like to thank Mr. Perry. I think you hit it right on the head about the school bus and everything else, and Mr. Jones. And like I said, we're getting older. That's the only way we got to getting out. So, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Ward.
I've been down there and looked at concrete. That concrete's still solid. And I poured enough concrete to know it's still okay to hold that bridge. So there wasn't no reason to take it out. And I work for the state and I know how to put bids in for bridges, air conditions and everything else. I do it every day. I go through the governor's office down there to ask for stuff for the National Guard Army down there every day. And you can get the money to put that bridge in if you do it the right way. I mean, you're just making excuses not to put it back in. And it needs to be here. I've been down there for 60-some years and I've seen that place flood, and that's the only way you could get out of Mendon. I mean, there's no other way. That other bridge you're talking about is in good shape floods every time it rains down there. All the water is mostly up the upper end. So you ain't gonna get out there. You, when next time it floods, you bring your vehicle down there and you get out. And see what I'm talking about.
Ms. Pacino?
Thank you, Dave Perry, for covering my concerns about the buses and the children. And then also, you know, that road for me, in the evenings, it's a nice detour because there is so much traffic. And sometimes I just take that road just to come off of that road where everybody's behind you, in front of you, and then you just kind of detour and you can deflate a minute and then go on home. But yeah, we definitely need the bridge back. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Is there anyone else from Minden who came in and didn't get a chance to sign up? That's everyone from Minden who wants to speak. Isn't there a petition for the people from Minden to sign?
Yes, sir. I laid it over on the table.
Did you sign that over there? Those from Minden who spoke or who didn't want to sign that? Everyone has? All
Mayor,
right.
would that be made available for Butter or one of those guys or the lady down in Minden to take that around to other people? Could that be made available?
I see no reason why I couldn't.
And Jim, I'm not an engineer. I have one other question. I don't know. I see these chicken wire and blocks. That could not reinforce those piers that are there, correct? Yes or no? That would look, okay, that's okay. That's quick enough. Yes and no. Appreciate it. So I also, Steve, I don't know, you prepared the petition, right?
Yes.
I think it would be appropriate at this time. I would make or second Steve's motion that the council sign a letter requesting that the bridge be replaced and consideration be given for underwriting the replacement cost. And again, Jim, this is not to disrespect or undermine your integrity whatsoever. It's a citizen we represent. So I'd like to make a motion that the council, along with the city manager, if she's agreeable, and the mayor sign the letter as well to Jim.
Yes.
So
I second that motion.
All right. And probably moving second, any discussion? I will
roll
note,
call.
I will note this, the letter is prepared.
Oh,
Call the roll, Madam Clerk, please.
Ward 1, Councilmember Diana Janey,
Yes.
David Perry,
yes.
Steve Hazlett,
Yes.
Charles Smallwood.
Yes.
It's unanimous consent, sir.
I think the letter has been prepared, has place for signature of all council people.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Could we read that letter so that the public can hear it? Please, if it's been prepared.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rhonda. I'm looking at the meeting. She was eating her licorice.
This letter is addressed to James S. Moore, Engineers District Number 9, West Virginia Department of Highways, 146 House Road, Lewisburg, West Virginia, 24901. Reference to the bridge replacement request. Dear Mr. Moore, we recognize you were not aware Minden was in the city limits of Oak Hill when the Minden Bridge was removed, and we would like to thank you for the report showing the bridge had considerable deterioration of the structural elements. We understand the bridge would have been closed to traffic even if it had not been removed. We are requesting this bridge be replaced because it is a critical component of an evacuation route in the event of major flooding and other natural disasters, which this area is known for. In addition, this removal will have an economic impact on the local businesses. We request special consideration for your immediate attention to the environmental impact, safety, and prioritization in the construction of replacing the Minden Bridge. Sincerely yours. And then we have a spot for all the council members and Demita.
If you want to, Madam Clerk, you could pass that around so council members who are here can sign it, and the ones who are not can be contacted to come by and sign it.
Kim, thank you again for being here. Have safe travels back to Greenbrier County. And I'd ask you on the reordering that Ms. Lively with the Beautification Committee be permitted to speak.
I have her down next.
All right, you're reading my mind.
I got it right here. Ms. Lively.
Good evening, and thank you all for letting me go early and speak a little bit longer. I hope you can understand me. I have seasonal allergies that drive me crazy this time of year, but I just wanted to give you all an update on some of the projects that we've been working on for the past several months. It seems like every council meeting, I'm out of town since I retired. It seems like I'm gone a lot, but did have Kevin Willis, who's a member of our committee, who has come to you all throughout the past few months, giving you kind of an update on what we've been working on. But I just wanted to give you all a little bit more information and come to this meeting because he actually missed the last meeting. And we've done some things since the last meeting that he may not be aware of. But first, I wanted to give you an update on the Welcome to Oak Hill sign. We decided it's time to move forward with that, with the northbound sign that's near the P Ridge exit. We had approached Eric Morshell to do the sign, and he would have done a fantastic job. He's great. I mean, he really does a good job with the work that he does. But now he can't get to that until the fall. And we really wanted to get something accomplished this summer and get it done quickly. I spoke with Demita about that this morning, and with him saying we couldn't get to it till the fall, we would like to see if we could get some different sign companies to possibly work on that for us. So I called Farha Signs. You all may be familiar with Farha. That's Farha. They're a sign company out of Beckley. They're very reputable. In fact, if you see most of the signs in the Beckley area, you've seen some of their work. I mean, they have done the large sign at Flat Top Lake. They've done the one into Stanford Acres, the one into Glade Springs. They actually did the one here at the Fayette County Farmers Market. There by the police station. They did that one. They do very large signs. They're very reputable. They have a Facebook page. If you want to look at them on Facebook, it's Farha Signs. Also, you can go to Farha Signs, FARHASIGNS.com and look at their website. They have a lot of the signs that they've done, so you can see their work. In speaking with him this morning, he said that if we can get someone to do the stonework, which Demita and Day think there's possibly someone who works here at the city who could do the stonework. And I think you've all seen the model of the sign that we would like to do. I think KJ brought you that a while back. But if we can get someone to do the stonework, then they can possibly do the sign in 7 to 8 weeks, which would be great. So if we can, yeah, I sent him a picture of the sign that we wanted. I sent him a picture of the location, and I sent him the size of the lot. So once we speak with the person here that can possibly do the sign, and then get all the information to Farha and get a quote from them, hopefully we could get moving on that and get the ball rolling on this project. This has been something I know we've talked about for years. We've gone back and forth with it for years of what we need to do. And ironically, at our last beautification meeting, we were talking about that, and we said, you know, nobody even knows they're in Oak Hill. There's no welcome to Oak Hill sign. So the very next day, I'd gone to Beckley and was coming back, sitting in Oak Hill at the stoplight there in front of the hospital with my window rolled down. It was a beautiful day. And a motorcycle pulled up beside me, and I could hear him saying, ma'am, ma'am. So I thought, you know, should I turn around and look? Should I not? So I did. And he said, I looked at him and he said, what city am I in? And I thought, okay, we need to get this done because, you know, some people do not know the city where they are. So that's the one on the northbound side. We would like to secure a location going southbound. We have been working on that. I know Mr. Perry and Mr. Smallwood met with us and a gentleman from Summersville who owns some property there. Kevin Willis had contacted him, thought, you know, this would be possibly a location. But once we looked at that, it really wasn't appropriate. It was near the mall there where the Mexican restaurant is and Kroger's and all that. But you couldn't see the property from 19. So we really want something you can see from Route 19 coming southbound. So Mr. Perry said he had possibly another location, maybe another location too, possibly to speak to someone and try to get someone to let us either buy a small piece of property or just let us have that piece of property to do a new sign. I know he contacted the Department of Highways who they wouldn't let us put one right there on 19. And I guess, you know, that's probably understandable, but it would have been the perfect location. It was a beautiful site. So that one's out, but we are working on it. Hopefully we'll get to that very soon. Hopefully by the end of summer, we can get a welcome to Oak Hill sign, at least on one side of 19. Another project that we had been pushing for years was the water tank. And so luckily that's done. I mean, that's been a many years. I think everybody talked about that in every committee that's ever been around. And we wanted to get the acorn, you know, get it painted like an acorn. However, it belongs to the water company and they had the final say. So I approached Mr. Perry with that. Actually, I ran into him at the board office one day and said, okay, and this is right when he took office, and said, if there's one thing you could do, please call the water company or whoever and see if we can get that tank painted. So within a week, he called and said it may happen. So it has happened. So I want to thank him for doing that, and also thank all of you all for voting to put the logo on that. So, you know, I appreciate you all getting that done because that's something that we've wanted to do forever. Also, just and I'll make this one really brief about the metal tree project, because you all gave us the money to do the metal trees in the municipal parking lot. If you remember, I think Kevin Willis may have given you all this packet that shows you the trees that we were going to do. As you all know, we have that large municipal parking lot that is very accessible to all of the storefronts in Oak Hill. But for whatever reason, people don't want to park there. So the Beautification Commission wanted to revitalize the parking lot and do some metal trees there, plant them in planters and plant flowers. So we spoke with Jamie Lester, who owns Vandalia Bronze. He worked up the price, which you all had in this packet. So we had the price to proceed with that, which was going to be $9,000 for a tree. And it was going to be a 7 to 9 foot tree. We wanted it to be very, very impressive. We wanted it to be big, and we were going to plant flowers around it and then do several other smaller ones throughout the parking lot. So he said he presented us with the quote. And I think you all had the quote, and we paid him $5,000 down to do the project. And he said it would be complete in 4 months. So we waited and waited and never heard anything. So finally, you know, I texted him a few times to see how things were going, and he was saying, still working on it, all will be good. So finally, End of January, it had been 7 months, hadn't heard anything. So I contacted him and said, so how's the tree coming along? And he said, well, he had taken it to a company who was going to do the fabrication. And he said that the design that he drew for them, which he drew us a sketch, which I have the sketch he drew for us. He said that the design he drew for them was not safe and that we couldn't do a tree that size. And did we want to do a 6-foot tree? But they couldn't finish it till late spring, early summer. So as a committee, we said, no, if it's going to be smaller, and he said it would be the same price if it's smaller. So if it's smaller, same price, we don't want to do that. So the project that you all have here is no longer going to happen. I mean, it's just, we couldn't do that. So he refunded, just so you all will know what happened to the money, because I know you all, and I appreciate it. You all gave us the money to do that. He refunded it all but $1,000 and said he charged $150 an hour to draw us this unsafe design and present it to someone who said they couldn't do it. So anyway, so we still want to revitalize the parking lot. We still think that's a very important project that we do. So our idea is to have the city workers, if they would, to hang the old Oak Hill yellow banners that we used in town in the beginning, with our purple activity banners that we had from, several years ago. So if they'll hang those on the poles in the municipal parking lot, and then we're going to paint and freshen up the paint there on the sidewalk where the Boy Scouts had come at one point and had painted that, but now all of that has been scratched up and a lot of it's come off. So that's one of the projects we want to do, is to still freshen up that parking lot so people will want to use it. Also, a new project that we have is painting the alleyways on the ground, like on the street, between going back to the parking lot. So between Sam Calloway's church and Peterson's clinic there, and then also the murals and Chase Bank, painting on the street, like a design with acorns and leaves and things on the street and a pattern. So that's something we plan on doing. I met with Demita and Day Day, and Day Day said there was some paint that we could possibly use for that would stick, like that they use on the walks, the crosswalks. So we're going to do that. Also, I've had a terrible day with allergies. Also, we have baskets, the baskets at Casto's, that they're there and they will be finished, but not until June. So those are coming. So we've got that still in the works. We'll be planning the large planters probably after Mother's Day weekend, so next week, and get those done. I'd like to thank the city workers who have removed all of the old dirt from there and cleaned all that up for us so that we can start planting the new flowers next week. I mean, that's a lot, for us to have to do. The dirt was old, it needed all replaced. So that's done. And as soon as we can make sure that the weather's good, which they say after Mother's Day, then we're going to get those planted. Also, we have a lady who wants to be in our committee. Her name is Debbie Holly. And she's interested in joining the committee. And she had a great idea about doing a Christmas bench decorating contest. And yes, I would appreciate that, Mrs. Tanner. I took Claritin, so I'm completely all dried out.
I'm nervous.
But anyway, so she would like to have a decorating contest with the benches that are along the rail trail. Since now there's going to be lights there, it'll be beautiful to maybe decorate those at Christmas and have the families decorate their own benches and have a contest and just give prizes to the people who win. We'll just have a competition. So that would be something to decorate the rail trail, which would be really nice. Another project that we have, and this one we're unsure of, but we're hoping it can happen, is the old rusted signs that are up and down Main Street, the majority being in East End. At one of our meetings, the mayor is on our committee. In one of our meetings, he brought up the fact that we have all of these ugly rusted poles that are up and down Main Street that used to have signs hanging on them that no longer do. And so we thought if we could possibly approach the owners, the business owners, and see if they would be willing to take down those rusted poles. Cindy Canterbury, a member of our committee also, she approached a gentleman who has the equipment to do that. He's a local person, and asked him if he could possibly give us an idea, just an estimate about how much it would cost to remove the different poles and see if the business owners would be willing to do that. One of the poles I'm thinking that's terrible, that is huge, is in the parking lot there at the new Vape store. That used to be the old Steam Miller building. It's a huge sign that has nothing on it. It's rusted, it's big. And possibly if the new owners, I mean, maybe they've never even thought about taking that down. Maybe if we tell them, we're working on revitalizing the city, we want to be rid of all the old rusty poles, that they would consider that. Along with the Exxon gas station sign, the Exxon across from Walgreens. That Exxon sign has been there since they closed. And it was my understanding always that you couldn't have a sign in the property of a business that's not that business anymore, or a wrong business. I may be wrong about that, but I know when we bought some property once, we had to make the person take the sign down that was there before, and they did. So that's along with the old pumps. I mean, all that's a terrible eyesore. But that's what, the project with the old signs there again, it's not city property. And I feel for you all, because so many people talk about, the city looking bad or whatever. And a lot of that stuff is beyond your control, because it's owned by people in the city, the business owners. Also, and this is probably the last project that we've got in mind, but we would like to be the ones to decorate the new city hall. We talked about this at our last meeting, and one of the girls in the committee said, I have an idea for that building for Christmas that I really want to do. So I asked Amita when I met with her the other day if we could have that project, because we're very excited about the new city hall. We think it's a focal point in the city. We have a vision of what we want the city to look like, and that's what we do. I mean, it's not our job because we don't get paid, but we volunteer to try to make the city beautiful. And I've traveled to over 30 states and countries and cities all over the world, and small cities just like Oak Hill. And every time I come back, I pretend that I'm a visitor and I'm not from Oak Hill. And it's like, okay, if I'm seeing this from the eyes of someone who doesn't live here and hasn't lived here for 58 years, like I have, what do I see? If I'm somebody new who wants to move here, if I'm someone who wants to invest money in this city and put in a business, is there anything in my mind that will stand out that says, this is Oak Hill? And I don't see that. I know we have an amphitheater, that's wonderful. But other than that, what do we see? What is somebody new? And you have to look at it like you are not from Oak Hill. What do you visualize when you see Oak Hill? You see the large Bessie's building that's empty, and which I know you all don't own that. And I saw something on social media that just blew my mind, that somebody said, well, why don't they sell the Bessie's building at a discounted price so somebody can move in there? People don't seem to understand. You all don't own these storefronts. It's not your fault that they're empty. But there's just nothing in Oak Hill that really stands out as something that's inviting to a new person. The paint, that all the buildings need painted. I know there's a new committee, and we went to that meeting to get the new streetscape up and running. So that's great that the city's got that up and going, If the city owner, if the business owners buy into that, that'll be great. But it takes them to buy in. But we as a committee, we want to decorate the bank to at least that is something the city owns or will own. I don't know where that is in the process, but that is something that we can do something about. And that is something that Fayetteville has the courthouse, even though it's owned by the county. When I see Fayetteville, and I've worked there for 19 years and I love Fayetteville, so I can't say anything bad about them, but that's what you see. When you see certain cities, there's large buildings you think of. We want Oak Hill to be known for a large, beautiful building in the middle of town instead of one that's falling down around us. So we would like to purchase a large concrete planter with some of our money and plant some flowers in front of there and hopefully help you all with work on that building and make it look good. So in closing, I would just like to tell you all thank you for the work you've done. I know I see it on social media. I think it's something that's best to stay off for everything you do. You can't satisfy everybody, but I appreciate you all willing to run for city council and do what you think is best. And as a committee, I think I can speak for everyone. If there's anything at all, as far as projects that you all would like us to help you with, we're more than willing to do that. We still will do all of our other seasonal projects. Fall is our favorite. So we still will be doing the hay bales. And again, thank you to the city workers who bring all those hay bales in and all those mums in for us and pumpkins. And sometimes we can be kind of hard to work with because we want a lot, but it's all in the interest that we all have, including you all, that we want to improve the city and improve the looks of the city. So thank you all. And if there's anything you all need, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lively.
Mayor, as would be expected, I have a couple comments, but I'll yield to my colleagues if they would like to say something.
I just want to make one comment. I serve on that beautification committee with Judy Lively, Janae Booth, Cindy Canterbury, and Karen Jones. And I can tell you how dedicated they are, how hard they work, how they plan, how they design. And I just follow along with whatever Judy Lively says we're going to do. So it's easier that way. So that's the way I've been doing it. But she always has good ideas. The whole committee does. And I think that they're one of the more active committees. And I think they are doing a really good job. Thank you for your effort.
Judy, just want to say thank you. And hopefully all that works as well as it sounds. Yeah.
Anyone else? Mr. Perry.
Judy, I'd say thank you also. Sounds like you got a lot on your plate. And you proposed a lot and you've come a long way in a short time. Oh, okay. I understand that, but I'd also say this, that, the parking lot. I would commend Day, who we asked several months ago to light that street up. Who's done it, which after about, I understand, 2 years, and Demita, who I think there's a yellow sign there now hanging. It says Oak Hill parking lot. Oh, okay. I'm glad you clarified that because I thought you were talking about taking down the veterans. Good. And I have a question regarding the welcome sign on the north. Has that property now been deeded to the city? Is there anything pending on it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is the sign on the southbound lane. At the time we talked to highways, I mistakenly was much in favor of it. So Mr. Kirk pointed out to us the cost and the future upkeep if we would have taken that in. He was 100% right. So the other thing, the money has been budgeted, correct? Is in the budget for their project.
Yes,
And that was done prior to this July, correct?
yes.
So it was just a carryover.
I'll have to carry it.
Right. Okay. Okay. So make that clear so that we're not wasting money. But anyway, thank you very much. And just so happens, and it sounded like this would be scripted, I had several items. Would you all consider, in cooperation with the VOTEC or the National Guard or someone, cleaning up the Oddfella Cemetery? And several years ago, I think Mr. Tissue and his wife undertook a lot of these cemeteries. So if you'll put that on your all's list and take it for your group and so forth. The other thing is, you talked about the business association. I know Allison's here, and she has taken the time to offer to each member to meet with her and discuss their concerns, and I've met with her. And I think, might be in the report here, haven't had a chance to read it yet. You can correct me if I'm in error. One of the priorities that has been asked of her is to get this business association off the ground. And part of that would be to form, could be talked about in terms of rusty poles and so forth. And ever since I've been here, I've heard those signs that are up and Exxon and so forth have been asked to be addressed and hadn't been addressed. And I don't know whether it's a zoning issue or what, but, and the only last thing I would say, the perspective which you have represented is commendable. When you travel, you look what you can bring back to Oak Hill to help us move forward. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time tonight. And I know you have another appointment, so we won't keep you. I won't talk any longer. Diane's kicking me under the table here. Mayor got a timer.
Marion, you're next.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to your council this evening. I'm like Judy, I still have trouble with my sinuses over this allergy weather. I am here tonight to represent the Energy Express Advisory Board and our Read Aloud Advisory Board here in Fayette County, seeking volunteers to serve as role models for our students in Energy Express this summer and in Read Aloud next year as students start back to school. For many years, we had Energy Express and Read Aloud, and COVID really put us under the bridge. So we're trying to get those programs back for our students, and so that we can emphasize the importance of reading to them. Energy Express is a 6 weeks program in the summer for grades, first grade through sixth grade, to improve reading skills through the arts and music and drama and other creative activities. We plan to have 2 sites, one at Valley Pre-K and one at New River Intermediate. They run from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday. The kids are served breakfast and lunch, and we invite the community to come in and read to those students and listen to those students read during those times. Usually you read for about 20 minutes. Energy Express has 6 different themes. They start off with myself. They go to the family, and they end up with week 6 of how I can help my community. We also would like to encourage those of you who would volunteer to read to attend a Read Aloud orientation that's provided through Zoom. It's about 40 minutes. And after you've attended one orientation, you're a Read Aloud reader. And our school system allows those people who attend this orientation to go into our school system during school and read once a week to a classroom. Now, it is really important for those kids to have somebody from their community who they can look up to as a role model to come in and read to them every week. You'll get more hugs than you can imagine when you go in and read to those students. I have a sign-up sheet that if you are interested in being volunteering for Energy Express this summer, which runs from June the 21st through July the 29th. If you would care to sign up, and if you'll put your phone number and your email address, Read Aloud will contact you when they have the Zoom plan, and the Energy Express has a volunteer coordinator who will contact people who sign up to volunteer for the program this summer. And I think I've covered it all. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Marion, if
Yes.
someone would show interest, how could we get a hold of you after this meeting?
Okay, my phone number is 304-228-5394. And I'd be glad to hear from any of you. Really, our kids really enjoy having people come in and read to them. And, you know, you become their very best friend.
Thank you.
You made the wrong statement. Any question? It's my understanding that retired educators and perhaps high school seniors could be employed by Energy Express. Is that correct?
Yes. They're AmeriCorps employees. And the deadlines for those applications is May the 10th, which is Wednesday. And it is a two-step application. And the kids, I'm not sure the dollar amount they get paid. I didn't look that up.
Right.
But they do get a stipend during the summer, and then they get an educational allotment if they're going to school. And if you're 55 years old and you want to be one of those mentors.
That's teachers, right? Retired teachers, or is it anyone?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, but it could be anyone, David. We could talk with J.R. Davis at the Extension office, but
I
a
think it's retired
grandparent-
educators, I think. I'm not
Okay,
sure, but
could
be nice to
be.
know for sure.
Okay, yes. They get a stipend for the summer, the retired educator would, and they also get an educational allotment for their grandchild or whoever they want to assign it to for the fall.
And they get a $2,400 sign-on bonus, as I
Okay.
understand.
Well, could be. And if they work 2 summers and get 600 volunteer hours through that Energy Express program, they could qualify for a pretty substantial scholarship.
So you shared this with us tonight. You have a sign-up sheet for all these folks here to
Yes.
sign up to volunteer, correct?
And all these people
Who
here-
are interested in what's going on.
Yes, yes.
How else could we help you as a council or as a city? Any
Well-
proposals?
If anything that you can do, I mean, if you have a talent that you'd like to share with the kids, I mean, they have.
Talking, that's mine.
Yes, we know, David. Okay. But if you have a musical talent or some kind of, if you're an artist and you'd like to share that with the kids, I'm sure that volunteer coordinator would like to know. Now,
That-
like I say, we are hoping that we have enough mentors. And that's the young people or the retired teachers that go in there and work with the kids so that we can have 2 sites.
Let me ask the city manager and the clerk this. Is it permissible? Could it be that this information be put on the website or webpage?
For Energy Express. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could put that for Energy
Now,
Express.
the only thing I'd suggest, Marion, if you want it on there, you write it up and get it to these folks.
Okay,
I'm not going to ask them to write it up.
okay, I will do
If you
that.
want it on there and it go on the city webpage.
And I'm gonna.
I know
leave-
Federal puts out a sheet that has all of Oak Hill's activities and so I got one today when it was over there. Oak Hill as well, so.
I am gonna leave this if anybody wants to sign up. I
All right, right
really
there, John.
appreciate it.
He's-
And your name, address. Yeah. Telephone. And Rhonda said she would keep it for me and there's a
if the deadline's the 10th, you're gonna have to get that very short.
The 10th is
ads.
for those mentors.
Okay.
Okay, and I would like to say one other thing. When my grandkids come to visit me, we always have to come to Oak Hill and drive around and count the bears. Okay,
Yeah.
so we make a trip and usually we stop someplace and buy ice cream or something, okay, while we're here. But they really love the bears. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Mr. Garvin.
This liable left, I was going to echo what she said. I also have a vision. That's how we're going to pay for this turnkey building down here. It's supposed to be the municipal building. But as you all well know, my name's John Garvin. I've been talking about this building for the last 14 months, 12 months. And right now we're paying $11,537.90 every month on a 15-year term on $1.5 million. And what were we told through this whole process? $1.5 million is not much money. $1.5 million is no problem. We got $1.5 million. It's no problem. But here recently, the transition committee met with the Chapman Technical Group, who's in charge of the renovations, and they came up with some interesting numbers. They said, in order to get this finished, it would take $2,045,400. Now, if we add that to the $675 that we've already spent for the building, and really don't know how that was accomplished, that would lead to a grand total of $2,720,000 and $220,400. They had some more interesting numbers down there. They said we could have had a new building for $2,760,000. So for another $39,600, we could have had a new building. So the cost overrun now is $1,220,400. Now, where's that money coming from? And from what I understand, that's a low ball figure. So 14 months ago, we were supposed to receive a report. It's in the minutes. There was a motion that was passed by everybody. It was voted 7-0. We're supposed to find out how much it costs to build a new city hall, how much to purchase a former BB&T building and renovate it, how much to refurbish the current city hall. Now we've not gotten that number 3 figure, but now thanks to Chapman, what's the name of our figure? Chapman Technical Group, we know what those other 2 figures are. Well, why didn't we receive those figures 14 months ago? So we could have had a reasoned debate, some kind of reasoned argument, find out what the city could really afford. Now, I don't know where this money is going to come from. I have no idea. But I am going to say this. The reason we're in this situation, there were 4 councilmen, an elected official in this body. I'm going to call them the Big 5. I don't want to say names because they might try to do a Calvin Jones on me. I don't want to be hauled out of the chamber. They just followed this all the way down the line. There was never any kind of discussion. We're in the hole for all this money now. And the thing is, we're in the fix now because we're going to have to find the money. We just can't leave the building sitting there. Anyway, at one time, there were 2 points to this whole process. There was a counselor that could have put the hiatus to this. It could have been stopped. Then it went to the building commission. It could have been stopped. There were a few councilmen, 3, who fought against it. Mr. Stewart fought against it in the building commission. But what was the same argument? The same silly ass arguments that have always been put forward. Oh, it's a pretty building and $1.5 million. Oh, everybody's got that.
Mr. Garvin, your time has expired.
No, I don't think I've spoken.
Yes, you have. I've been counting it. It has expired. Thank you.
Well, I think you all should apologize to the city. I think you should resign. And I think you should take your names off the ballots because you're not competent to serve the city.
That's enough,
This is the
Mr.
worst
Garvin.
the
We've
city-
heard you, Mr.
this is the
Garvin. We've
worst the
heard you.
city
Your time is
ever
up,
been.
Mr. Garvin. Your time is
You
up.
all should just
Mr.
resign.
Alshire, you're
Resign
next.
your ass.
Mr. Alshire,
You're
you're
a
next.
nuisance to the city.
Mayor, I'd suggest if Mr. Garvin has any other information he'd like to provide, he put that in writing and we'd be more than happy to receive it.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak. In the minutes, and Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to read their names on here, and I'm going to read the names that's on here because it's in the minutes. Back in January the 10th, the council made a motion that the negotiation team would take place. Negotiation team was Mr. Mayor, Bill Hannibal, and one of the building commissioners, Bill Laird. They're supposed to meet with the sellers on that. And they did meet, but Mr. Chuck Miller said that we cannot make this official because the other owners are not here. That was it. Nowhere else in the minutes do I see where that committee was resolved. And I think the law states that you have to resolve a committee before you take steps to entertain the purchase or move on with it. That never taken place. And so onward to this, Councilman Perry, reading from the minutes, not calling anyone out. Councilman Perry said he got in contact with Steptoe and Johnson to receive advice on how to negotiate this bit buying. They were not on the negotiating team. We do not know who was on the negotiating team. They're suppressing that public information, who negotiated this contract. And I think we have a right to know, but you don't want to give it out. I don't understand why. And the ones that negotiated this, you're proud of it. So why not say, yes, I negotiated the contract. I negotiated the purchase. Why don't you do that? That's all we're asking. It's nowhere in the minutes. I guarantee you that. And that's, the minutes that we got. I've got this other minute here today. And the discrepancy against this on January 10th on this readout, it says the investigation negotiation committee was to be 2 city council persons, city manager. Nowhere in this one here does it state there was 2 city councilmen. It stated councilmen shouldn't have anything to do with it because they were going to vote on it. They had no right to negotiate that contract. But that's water under the bridge. I understand that. And I think you ought to give us the negotiation people that negotiated this purchase. I spoke with I'm going to be right up front with you. I spoke with the ethics committee today. And they said, I told them, I said, we deserve this information, who negotiated, because it's public information. And I'm going to get a form tomorrow in the mail that next day, and we'll take it from there. If we don't get an answer tonight, if I do not know who negotiated this thing, and if you're proud of it, you must not be much of a person if you don't want to tell.
Thank you, Mr. Alshire.
Do I get the other one also?
No, you could put them both together.
No, I couldn't. I didn't have time to.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, okay.
Mr. Ayers. Where's you? You're next.
I'll just make it brief tonight. I see a lot of signs going up in the city for this next election. I see 5 people in this room that are running for office. I think we need to get people out to vote. I think we need a change in this city because we can't agree on anything. Mr. File, city attorney, I think you should contact the highway department. We got all this money, we got in grant money, we're gonna build parks, we're gonna build sidewalks. I think we need to get that bridge down to Minden fixed for the people. I mean, they said it was a 1 in 100-year flood. Don't matter, lives are lives. Mr. Moore did state half of the bridge was in good shape, so maybe Day can negotiate something with them, take some of that money we've got. And I think it needs to be fixed. How the state doesn't know that the city of Minden was incorporated into the city of Oak Hill is a shame. And I think you need to, beside the city council, send Jim Moore and the whole state a letter trying to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that was everyone. I'm going to move now to unfinished business. Number one, review of demolition progress of residential structure located 30 Jordan Street, map 8A, parcel 176, owned by Jamie Adams and et al. Manager?
This structure has already been before you. The owner came in to get a building permit or a demolition permit and did not complete the demolition. So we're going to notify her and we can take this building down ourselves with our labor. So I just wanted to bring it back before you and for you to make another motion for us to go ahead and do that.
Mayor, I move that the demolition of the property located at 30 Jordan Street, map 8A, parcel 176, owned by Jamie Adams and others, proceed with the city as the city manager has suggested, as quickly as possible.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. Number two, bid openings for demolitions under the REAP program, A 301 Bond Avenue, map 16, parcel 16, owned by Cody and Sarah Donnelly.
I have four bids from various contractors here that I will open.
That's all for A,
Well, they're for all of them.
A, B, and C.
Yes.
Well, should I go ahead and read B and C as well?
Yes. Yes. that would-
B 137 Broadway Avenue, map 7, parcels 116, 117, owned by Dwayne Hopkins. And C is 94 High Street, map 4, parcel 90, owned by Celia Perrier, deceased et al.
Okay, this is from, the first one I have is from League Builders.
What was that, Demead? I'm sorry.
League Builders,
League or leg?
League,
Okay,
League.
thank you.
And for 301 Bond Avenue, the bid is $6,250. $6,250. For 137 Broadway, the bid is $6,250. And for 94 High Street, the bid is $6,250.
Where is League Builders?
He is in Oak Hill. Is he in Oak Hill? No. Lester,
Lester.
sorry. Okay, this bid is from Empire Salvage and Recycling. Okay, Empire Salvage for 301 Bond Avenue is $7,500. For 137 Broadway Avenue, $5,500. And for 94 High Street is $6,500. The next bid is from League Reclaim Company from Fairmont. Their bid for 301 Bond Avenue is $8,750. 137 Broadway, $12,750. And 94 High Street, $9,750. And the last bid is from GNS Land Clearing and Excavation. .301 Bond Avenue, $17,000. Let's see, 137 Broadway. $20,000. And 94 High Street. $20,000.
Where are they from?
They are from South Side, West Virginia.
Southside, West Virginia?
Yes.
Where were that in? Some big gaps here, aren't there?
So
Well-
it appears that League Builders is the low bidder for 301 Bond Avenue and 94 High Street. And that Empire Salvage is the low bidder for 137 Broadway. Does that
Yeah, I have a
match
question
with
of
yours?
council
Does that match with what you have?
and of the city manager. Well, do we have any knowledge of experience or recommendations for league
He has done
before?
at least 2 of ours.
Okay. Mr. Fowle, I have a question. We are considering A, B, and C together. So if you added all 3 against one or the other, could, in other words, League, the 3 costs total, and Empire, the 3 costs. I don't know what those numbers would be. Could it be done collectively rather than individually? You understand what I'm saying? What I'm asking?
We advertised to ask them individually
Okay.
because it's with that grant.
No problem. Okay. So I move that we accept League bid on property A, 301 Bond Avenue, map 6, parcel 16, owned by Cody and Sarah Donnelly at $62,500, right? $6,250.
$6,250, yes.
Yes,
So that's number 2.
that's A.
But number 2, A under that.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion's been made and seconded that on number 2A, that 301 Bond Avenue, that demolition contract be awarded to League Builders.
Builders,
Mhm.
yes.
Any discussion? We'll vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to, which now brings us to 2B, 137 Broadway Avenue, map 7, parcels 116 and 117, owned by Dwayne Hopkins. And that motion is,
I move that 137 Broadway Avenue, map 7, parcel 11617, owned by Dwayne Hopkins, be awarded to Empire at $5,500.
For a second,
I'll second.
property moved and seconded. Accept Empire Salvage as the company to demolish 137 Broadway Avenue. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to, which brings us to 2C, which is 94 High Street, map 4, parcel 90.
Move that 94 High Street, map 4, parcel 90, owned by Cecilia deceased, and all be awarded to League at $6,250.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Property moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. Brings us to new business to appoint poll workers for June 13th, 2023 municipal election. Madam City Manager.
Oh, that, I will turn that over to Rhonda, because she has the list of poll workers.
City Clerk, all right.
You'll see the list that, of citizens that have agreed to be our poll workers.
Ron, could you give us a hard copy, please? I can't see that.
Sure.
Would it be possible to get that before we?
Oh, before you vote on it.
Yeah, please. Ah, that's better. You got it, Tyler. I can see it now.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Have some of these people worked before for the city?
Yes, a lot of them have worked before.
Are they all city residents?
I have one that's not a city resident. And that is, I want to say, that's Clara Warner with Beach Bottom Road.
And that's not in the city? I would ask that it be struck.
She's an alternate.
I still would ask. that
We
she
are
struck.
allowed to use Fayette County if we can't, if we've exhausted all the possibilities in Oak Hill.
And
And I would like to add, I did have a hard time getting individuals to agree to.
okay, strike
serve.
my comment.
So
Thank you.
it's been hard.
Now, let me ask this. Early voting. Who will do the early voting? Who will be the,
Our ballot commissioners, that's going to be June Blake and Rita Buda.
I thought we'd already, okay,
Yes.
I
We've
got you.
already agreed that they would be the ballot.
I thought so,
commissioners.
okay.
From May 1st, May 31st through June 10th.
So two people.
People, a Republican and a Democrat.
Would it be possible to add a part-time person to that early voting for breaks and restrooms, or is that being absurd?
We never have
Well,
had, I mean,
we've never had electric lights before either.
we've
We
never
had kerosene,
needed
but,
one. That's not in the budget. I mean, we haven't budgeted for that.
okay, I accept that response there, Madam City Manager. So,
And also, Anita and I will be working from 7 to 8 in the mornings during the early voting, and from 4 to 5. Our ballot commissioners are only going to be working 8 to 4.
I move that we accept the poll workers for June 13th for the municipal election as submitted by the city manager and clerk.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Property moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
And Mayor, I'd also like to bring up that
Motion's agreed to.
everyone should have received the location change for the voting location to be at the New River Intermediate School. So we sent out 4,995 letters. So we have received some was returned. We had an individual that had been deceased for a while, so
Down in Logan, they'd vote.
That's no reason they can't vote.
And then also, I'd like to bring up too, that, we started our, campaign today on voting and everyone got a picture of the vote sign. So,
That's the one that's gonna move around.
that's
correct?
the one that's gonna move around in encouraging people to vote. Right now, it's out front of the amphitheater, and then we're gonna move it down to the bank, because we think that's a great location so people can see, and then we're gonna move it out to, the end of East End. And hopefully at, in P Ridge, down P Ridge, just different areas, just to, to encourage people to get out and remind them to vote.
Would you consider getting in touch with Mr. Hoag to put it out there at the school,
Sure.
since precinct or,
Yeah, that'd be great.
okay.
And then also, I've left everyone, your ballot, official sample ballot. And then also, we're gonna leave the proposed amendments so that people, if they have any questions about what the changes are, you can be able to see. You'll notice that there's a strike through, which the audience can't see this, and I apologize, but I will provide it for you if anyone needs a copy. So the strike through is what has been recommended to take out, and the green area is what the committee has suggested for the voters to vote on. So if you have any questions, you can look at the document for all the recommendations on the 14 charter proposals.
And these have already been bid, the ballots. Or just a sample ballot?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. This is the sample ballot. This is what they'll be voting on the machine.
I understand that.
What, I'm sorry?
The awarding of the ballot for the machine has already occurred with Casto.
Yes,
That's my
yes,
question.
and they, it's, the express cards have been received at the county, so we just have to go over and pick those up.
Gotcha.
Does anybody have any questions?
This is easy work, isn't it? Putting this together.
Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you so much.
Which now moves us to number 4. A purchase of the Truest drive-through branch located at 201 Summerlee Avenue, which I think the city manager has brought up before us for.
Yes, so I offered Truest, $10,000 for the branch or for the drive-through facility at 201 Summerlee Avenue. They counter offered with $75,000 and asked that, we would put down $7,500 earnest money for that. And so, and if not, they will put it on the market. So I just ask for,
Mayor, I move that
Council's
this be
pleasure.
tabled at the present time. And, I just $75,000, what are you gonna put there? And even if the building is torn down, what will you do with it? I think that the premise, the idea is an excellent idea. That the sanitary office would be moved there, it'd be real convenient to the public. But, I will table it at this, I move that we table it at this time.
Is there a second? No one's going to second it?
I'll second that we table it for now.
Property moved and seconded that we table the Truest drive-through branch purchase or bid or whatever it may be. Any discussion?
I'd like to make one comment. I think $75,000 is a ridiculous price. So there's no intent to table it, to take it up at a later date unless they would come back with an acceptance of the 10 or something else that Demita would feel was responsible.
All right.
And I'd like that comment to be entered into the minutes, please.
All right. Any more comments? We'll vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. 4-0, which now request for the Minden Bridge to be replaced. That's already been handled earlier. Commercial building structural assessment proposal. Madam City Manager.
Okay, this, our Economic Development Director, Allison Navarro, wants to talk to you about number 6 and 7. So Allison, you're on.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening. I'm Allison Ibarra. You guys employ me. I'm your Director of Economic Development. So most of you all, actually everybody here, I knew well before this position. So we have definitely been really busy making sure that we're kind of taking care of small wins for our community now, and some much larger wins we're working on for the future as well. So the first thing that I would like to address with you all this evening is this structural analysis partnership for commercial buildings. So the purpose of this, what we're running up against in the city right now, and it's already been alluded to this evening, we've got a whole lot of vacant storefronts. We've got a whole lot of commercial buildings that are not being used right now. So then, you know, the question that I've got to sit here and consider is, why is that? So from the perspective of a potential business owner or someone who would consider moving into our area, these buildings are in various states of repair. When you are evaluating a location to potentially put your business, when you don't know what the structural integrity looks like, you don't know what it's going to cost you to rebuild some of these buildings or to get this building to a condition where you can use it. That's a gigantic pain in the butt, and you don't have time for it. So I would argue that a lot of our buildings are being skipped. When potential businesses are looking, our buildings in Oak Hill are being skipped because people just don't know what they're up against. Also, when we go to sell commercial real estate, it can be difficult to price. And that's those two factors specifically are why I've got this proposal in front of you today. So the goals I've got listed here are first, to make it easier for any prospective business that's considering one of our buildings to run their feasibility very quickly. So now, instead of this being a guess process with structural information, what was a guessing process, now you can knock it out in your lunch break. If you've got information on what you're dealing with this building already, that's going to, that should generate more looks at our commercial structures. Also, our business owners, or I'm sorry, our building owners are going to have a more realistic picture of what they can get for their building, what price that they could reasonably expect to earn for these structures. And the hope there would be that these buildings, if they're priced more realistically, they're not going to be sitting on the market for forever. Hopefully they'll move quicker. And also significantly is that at times, the condition of some of these buildings will be deteriorating to the point that it doesn't make sense for private investment to come in anymore. We need to identify these buildings as efficiently as we possibly can, so that I and the city, so that we can work with these business owners, or with these building owners rather, to figure out what their next steps might be, because we do have options. We've just got to understand what we're up against ahead of time. So what I'm proposing here is a partnership with Chapman Engineering Firm. What we would like to do is partner Chapman, the city, and any interested commercial building owners inside city limits. There are 2 levels of assessments, and these have been proposed by Joe Bird from Chapman Engineering. 2 levels. The general assessment would be around a $1,000 cost, and there would be a more in-depth structural assessment that would be offered for around $2,000. I'm proposing that the city split the cost with the commercial building owner. We'll probably need to put a time limit on this offer, which would coincide with the availability of TIF funds or other funds that we might be using for the city to be able to split the cost with the building owners. Also, I would propose that these assessments would be requested through oakhillwv.gov. I would team up with Tyler and create an inquiry form so that people can go to our website, building owners could go to our website, create an inquiry that would come to me, and then we would be able to evaluate the inquiries from there. And then also for a more in-depth explanation of how this would work with Chapman Engineering, I copied on the handout I left for each council member. I copied an email from Mr. Byrd that explained how this would work and the levels of structural assessment that we would be able to offer.
You've heard the proposal, the commercial building structural assessment proposal. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the Economic Development Coordinator as presented, contingent upon the treasurer and city manager identifying or stating or that funds would be available. However, I would like for you to give us a sunset date or a drop dead date. You've suggested here, and I think that needs to be part of the motion.
Sure, that will be something that's based on fact that comes from the meeting. And I would imagine we talked about that a little bit. Do you have a feel for when those funds might be?
The
Sunset.
TIP funding is going to be ending because of the hospital's nonprofit status.
Do we know if the assessor's been successful in requiring them to pay an additional year or part of a year?
I don't know.
He has initiated. I don't know what
Yes,
kind of action.
and they should. He's asking that he thinks that they may ask to stop and not, you're a year behind in your
Right.
property. So he thinks that they're were asked to stop as of, and not pay next year's even. I
Okay,
mean, not
okay.
pay what's due in July.
Allison, I'm not
21st,
sure we
so-
communicated.
I'm thinking, I would say a year for the drop dead date on this,
You feel comfortable with that?
or we run out of money.
A year from tonight. Okay, I'll make that part of the motion. The other thing that I would ask, well, that's the motion.
Is there a
And-
second?
I'll second that.
Properly moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Question. This comment editorial. I commend you for this. As I recall, when we first took up an economic development, one of the major charges that individual had was to be able to identify properties that would be available to business, which I think this also coincides or pigtails with where we have established the B&O incentive for new business and present business. So this is a major step. Real quick, Allison, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll now vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to. Number 7, get to know your Oak Hill Fund proposal.
Well, you don't have to waste time and have another speaker come to the podium for this one. So ladies and gentlemen, what I'm proposing for here, the goal, and of course it might need a better name. I'm not that great at designing names for things, so we're open to suggestions there. But the goal of this program is to expose city residents to Oak Hill businesses that offer services and activities that are geared towards enjoyment. Typically, these are referred to as third space business and activities. We want our residents to feel more connected to our businesses in Oak Hill, and we want to give our residents an excuse to go out and really enjoy what we have to offer here in Oak Hill. Also, this will increase a sense of community between our businesses, our city government, and residents. Other goals: provide businesses with an opportunity to increase their exposure to potential customers and engage with residents of their local community. And also provide businesses with an opportunity to generate income during a time period that would otherwise be slower. So it's a win-win-win is what I'm proposing here. But of course, it would cost the city a little bit of money. The description of this program, what I'm proposing is we budget $1,200 a month for this program. And this would be as an investment in our businesses. Examples I've listed would include like a free cupcake day from a local bakery, lake day at Ace, a fishing day at the trout pond, a free bowling day. I don't know where that would happen. A food truck night with Oak Hill food trucks, maybe around disc golf. This would be a great opportunity for the city of Oak Hill to encourage our citizens to participate in fun events at Oak Hill businesses. And I would propose that we would host one of these per month. Businesses interested in hosting these would send an inquiry through the oakhillwv.gov website again, using a process similar to the yard sale permit inquiry that Tyler's already created on our GIS system. So we're not reinventing the wheel. It should be pretty easy to get up and running. Those inquiries would be routed to myself or to the Economic Development Director. I'll contact the interested businesses and work with them to create an event that will bring value to both the business and to our residents. Then I will work with the businesses to produce a memorandum of understanding ahead of time for each event, well before they're scheduled. This MOU will include information such as specific date and time of the event, specifics of the offer or activity, which would include invoicing procedures and strategies for limiting the free portion of the event to Oak Hill residents as best we can. Selecting offers from businesses and putting together events may include the Oak Hill Business and Professionals Association once we have that association completely operational. Ideally, it would be great if we could be hosting events as early as June or July. I can make the system, we can create that capacity pretty quickly since it's just one event a month, but it would take money from you guys. So that's my proposal.
Is that just for a certain amount of time, or is that like a yearly basis, or like 4 months, or what?
Yearly would be ideal,
Mhm.
because we've got different events that we would highlight depending on the time of the year. So one business per month is what I'm proposing. So that gives us plenty of time to market it, to put a lot of effort into really making these events great for the business and for our residents.
Allison, where did this come from? Your thinking skills?
So
or
what I'm working on
involvement
is
involved?
win-win-win scenarios. So we've got some long-term things that we've got to work on, and then we've got some short-term wins and opinions towards the city. Sometimes I feel like we kind of get a bum rap as Oak Hill that we don't necessarily deserve. People do a great job barking about what we're not doing correctly. I think we could do a little bit better in bragging about all the great things that we have. Honeysuckle Nature Farm is a great example. I didn't even know that place existed. Yes, I didn't even realize there are opportunities in town, or, ACEs within city limits. Needle's Eye is going to be incredible. So I would really love for our residents to see the positive results of a lot of the initiatives that you guys have worked on, and that a lot of folks in the city have worked on in the past years. We need to get those in front of people.
Do you have a target date in mind for the business association to come back together?
I think we can do it by June, by the beginning of June. We've only been limited. I wanted to have more information for you now, but COVID and other things have slowed down our committee that's working to get the structure of the association back up.
Mayor, by leave of the council, I think we have some business proprietors here. If they would like to comment, because this is the first time we've seen this. I leave the committee, I would like to offer that opportunity to any PJ's here. He's a McDonald's guy. Joe Ray's here. I don't know these guys. You're with. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So if they would like to give their, or they'd rather not commit, their initial impression or opinion. And of course, Mr. Fox is here as well. If any of them would like to weigh in, or you prefer not. Now, the next question I would ask, this is $14,000 for a year. Obviously, Valerie and Demita have done an outstanding job with the solvency of the city over a number of years. And every time I have asked at every council meeting, where are we? It's been positive. It's much like Jim Justice in the state. We've had a surplus in the projected 1% sales tax. So my initial question is, do you feel this could be funded at what has been asked for?
Yes,
At the 1,200?
yes. And I imagine that every month it may not be 1,200,
Probably not.
depending on the business and how they
Allison, could you
what they
accept a
have.
less figure?
I can work with anything.
That's a good answer. I appreciate the positive, whatever. So
I think it's a great idea. Anything that generates business, brings people into town and gives
Would
them
you
something to do.
since we
I'm all
don't have
for
the
it.
Businessman Association up and running, and you said it will be, would it be acceptable to do a 6-month trial and error run versus a commitment to a year?
Sure. Sure.
So you could come back to us and say, hey, and then maybe by Joe Ray and PJ and some of our proprietors could weigh in,
Yeah, I would love to
particularly from
have
the Business Association.
Sure, I would love to have the business association be the people responsible for deciding, say, for example, we get 10 applications to host an event. I would love for that not to be my decision, but to be a decision that comes from the business association.
And final question, how will all the businesses become aware of this offer or extension to participate?
What we've got so far is social media has been the most effective. We've also drafted a press release procedure for the city. We would be able to follow that procedure, release press releases to, whatever news outlets we felt like. We've got email addresses, we've got addresses. We find a way to get a hold of people. So
I'd be
it's-
happy to deliver some of those personally to businesses. And you got the chamber as well as a venue.
Yes, and we've got a more formal partnership with them also, and that's something that was also part of the Business and Professionals Association. Our first educational class here in the city of Oak Hill for our business owners. I think the date is May 23rd from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Bell End building. The title of this free educational business educational event is Show Me the Money, which is it's being put on by a gentleman who does some sort of microloan program for the state of West Virginia. And it'll be a very worthwhile hour of any business owner's time. And also lunch will be provided.
We have hired an economic development coordinator for a purpose, to become business friendly and engage with businesses any way we can. And that's been for 14 months kind of a objective of this council collectively. So I would move that we approve this based on $1,000 per month for a 6-month period, at which time, that would be a sunset date, at which time it would come back to council with a report from Allison as to the success, as to the success.
There's a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to. We now move to number 8. Thank you. Memorandum of Understanding with New River Gorge Regional Development Authority concerning Needles Eye Park. Madam
This is the
Manager.
actual document, the memorandum of understanding, but in a nutshell, we have a grant. The New River Gorge Regional Development Authority has received a grant for Needles Eye Park to put in a trailhead and a bike trail. And we will work together with them. And there's some things that we can provide to help the money go faster. And that's labor on such things as a restroom and what else? The sewer line and extending sewer line to the restroom. So this just kind of spells out that we will provide the labor, they will provide the money for the supplies. And that's what this spells out. Mr. File has looked at it and approved the agreement. Yes. So do y'all have any questions about any of that?
But when will this be finished? Do you know?
Well, they are also, the Regional Development Authority has to engage an engineer for this, so we have to, I guess, wait for that. And so it is We've been working on it a long time, or Tyler especially has been working on this part for a long time, but we still have a little while to go before it gets complete.
So you need a motion to go ahead.
To approve this memorandum of understanding.
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to. Bruce brings us to number 9, which is discussion with possible vape store ordinance. Suzanne Wood.
Good evening. My name is Sue Wood, and I am the Program Director for the Drug-Free Communities Grant in Fayette County with the Fayette Prevention Coalition. I work to reduce youth alcohol and tobacco use, specifically among middle school and high school students. The number one tobacco product used by our teens is vaping nicotine. A little bit of information. We all care about economic growth in Fayette County, but we also have to consider whether or not we're growing in a healthy direction, both economically and for the physical well-being of our young people. We know that what kids see every day becomes normal to them, and we know that retail density has an effect, tobacco retail density has an effect on the percentage of the population that is smoking or vaping. Our schools are experiencing challenges with vaping. Some statistics here. In February, there were 6 vape stores in Fayette County. 2 out of the 6 of them sold to our youth inspector. We inspect stores. We do yearly student surveys through the Icelandic prevention model, where we survey all 7th through 12th grade students in Fayette County. And from those results here in Oak Hill data, Oak Hill High School, Oak Hill Middle School, 12% of our middle school students have ever vaped, and 23% of our high school students. So think 1 in 4. This is a challenge for our schools, and we can also see that through our Fayette County teen court cases, where 90% of them involve youth vaping on school property. So we have an issue with our teens, and we have an issue with our teens vaping. Now, recently, I said we surveyed, we inspected 6 stores in February. Since February, another store has opened in a different area of Fayette County. And then we have the store that has vape tobacco outlet, which has not opened yet. The concerning things about these 2 most recent situations is the store in another part of the county opened with less than a quarter of a mile from a school, and I could see it. I could stand in front of the elementary school and see the vape shop. So we want to prevent that from happening here in Oak Hill. The other concerning situation is the one that hasn't opened yet, but has that building there. It's 300 feet from an already existing vape shop. So the concern is that we should set minimum distances from schools and from each other that vape stores can open. We are not asking to do anything about current stores. In fact, the current stores that are in Oak Hill are already a half a mile from a school. We are asking that any new stores that would like to open also be at least a half a mile from a school, and hopefully at least half a mile to a mile from each other. Right now, the vape shops that are in Oak Hill are a mile from each other. There is a sample ordinance from the city of Charleston that have set limits. Along with that ordinance would be the defining a vape shop, and there is a definition in that ordinance as well. And we know most addiction begins in the teen years, and we want a positive future for Fayette County and for Oak Hill. And so we'd like to provide some clear boundaries for the protection of our kids. All I'm asking is, we are asking is, let's put a little distance between the stores and our schools and our youth serving areas. Is there any questions?
That's the operative.
Susan, where do you serve? I mean, who do you work for?
I work with the Fayette Prevention Coalition. And it's all of Fayette County. I have approached the Fayette County Commission with the same ordinance request, and I will be speaking to some other city councils as well. However, Oak Hill has the majority of vape stores, and it also has a high number of students. The largest high school and middle school in Fayette County is in Oak Hill.
Question, is it legal for those people to purchase from those stores?
No, it isn't.
Underage, so it's 18, 21?
It's 18 right now in West Virginia, and you actually have to be 18 in order to enter.
So have you discussed this with the proper authorities as well?
Yes,
The sheriff's department,
yes.
state police?
Yes, when we do the sign-R inspections, the state gives us a list of stores to inspect each year.
Mhm,
We go around with the state trooper.
mhm.
When we inspected the vape shops, and that was prompted by a parent's phone call to the sheriff's department about their
In
child.
Fayette County?
Yes, in Fayette
Okay.
County, about their child coming into possession of a couple $100s worth.
So you've spoken to all the police agencies, departments within the county, cities, county, and state?
We work with them when we do the inspection.
Okay,
Okay.
I got you.
Um,
But they're not aware of your suggested proposal for
No,
a ordinance?
no. I'm not sure that the police, I didn't specifically talk to the police departments about.
That's what I'm asking.
Right,
Because,
okay.
you know, they obviously would be partially or somewhat responsible for enforcing, and particularly they're responsible for the 18-year-old enforcement.
Right, but I think the enforcement of whether or not they would get a business license unless they are a certain
Okay,
distance.
I got you.
Would come from.
Is
them.
it still on the books that 18-year-olds can be given a ticket for tobacco use?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. And
And-
if they're caught on school property, they get a ticket for being. on
Yeah,
school
that's what I'm
property.
talking about. Yeah. So you're suggesting that we consider an ordinance,
Yes.
and you
we-
will make available to the city manager and the mayor a suggested ordinance
Yes, I'd be happy to.
sample?
Yes, another suggestion was to perhaps pause issuing business licenses for those stores for 30 days while you guys discuss and look into the ordinance that I present and ask any questions you may have regarding the vaping issue. in
Well, I
Fayette County.
suggest you sit down with the different chiefs or departments and share what you're suggesting. Get that, and just to, I know you don't have to do a thing. Just get their input as well and their feelings about it.
Okay.
But I, again, just ask that you provide us a sample ordinance.
Sure. I can
and-
provide you today with the city of Charleston's ordinance.
Okay, and if you have any others for us to consider at some future point in time. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
presentation.
So I guess there's a motion for this, is there? No reason
Well,
to, or is
Unless
there?
you, if you want us to consider that, then we could start working on it. If he wants to consider those ordinances, then it could be on the agenda again next month.
That wasn't really what I had in mind. I mean, before it moves further, I think it needs to be looked at, reviewed, and, you know, I don't think you'd need a motion to do that, do you?
No, unless you want me to. Do you want an ordinance that says that
I
they can
don't have enough
only be
information now.
so close together?
I think we
Or-
should table the matter
I'll second that motion.
this time until we can get more information.
I second that motion.
Then a motion to table number 9
Okay.
and a second
The discussion.
discussion.
Will you tell me what kind of information would you like?
Well, I think it was suggested to Sarah that she give you some samples. Okay,
Okay, and she did. We have a sample.
so you have it already. Okay.
Yes.
And then secondly, it was suggested that perhaps she talk with the different agencies and have some input or information she could share with us.
It sounded like you had already done that.
No, she said she hadn't, and the chief said he didn't hear anything about it. Sure. Right. Where are that? Right. Right. Gotcha. I used to have those issues. It's difficult to get to, what I want, difficult's the wrong statement. They got a lot of things they're doing. And then there's a policy for the Board of Education for use as well. And I wonder to what extent the local principals, and they had the blue lights out. Do they still have the blue lights in the restrooms? Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Do you know if there's anything similar to that for the vapes?
I have letters of support, Representative Pitt, as well as, the student support staff.
Again, I just asked you to
So-
make all that available to the meeting.
Okay, what I see this is that it's similar to the video lotteries. We don't want a bunch of video lotteries all in one place. Do we want a bunch of vape stores together? Do you want a vape store at the Lewis or at the old Lewis lot and in that shopping center right there? And that's where it is. And then maybe where Jesse's Pub is.
Or in the drive-through
Or-
down here at the bank's trying to
Right.
sell.
Is that, do you want to allow those vape stores to be wherever they want to go? As
Again, I
long as
think,
it's zoned.
I think Mr. Hazlett's motion, I've seconded. I think it would be very appropriate to have you review, look at, and come back with a recommendation.
I would
But-
take it up with the zoning
Yeah,
board.
first.
Are we still in discussion?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
We're so-
Have a motion and a second.
Zoning contests before they allow these people to come to town?
Because there's no zoning.
Not required.
I mean, there's nothing prohibiting
need-
those in certain zones.
Okay.
The
Well,
in
question.
zoning
I feel like. we
Question
need
I
that.
have is how is it different? And I'm not for vaping. I don't vape, I don't smoke, don't drink. But how would it be different, stopping the vape stores from being a certain distance from a school per se, a convenience store that sells beer?
Lottery tickets. Crash on. I've heard what the city manager said, and I'll just repeat myself again. I think the information needs to be made available to the city manager, and she can share that with us at such time we could make a more, not enough time tonight. And I don't want to be construed as being opposed or for. I'm riding the fence. Safe zone. That she come back, that it be made available to us so that we have information at the time if we decide to move on this. So I'll move the previous question that Mr. Hazlett motion.
All right, the question's been moved. Good. We'll now vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion,
I think we have enough information, so I vote no.
the motion's agreed to 3-1, which now moves us to department reports. You've had the report sent to you by the police chief. Any questions of him?
I commend him and Demita for the new speed limit signs with the radar on them. They're getting better at waving though. I've had 3 of them.
You've had the fire department's report. Is any questions for the chief? Not here. He was here.
He was here.
All right, the city manager.
Good report. She's been very busy.
I have a couple things to add to that, if I may. We have a flag retirement box right outside City Hall. It's not labeled yet. We're getting that, but Jacob McGuire built that as part of his Eagle Scout project. So you can, if you have a flag that is tattered, you can bring it here to City Hall, drop it in the box, and then a group of Boy Scouts will come and collect those and retire them properly. So just want to let you know that. And also the community garden, we are going to have just here right outside of City Hall. So if you get the word out, I'm going to try to set a meeting date for that to get people together, and we'll work on a garden out here. I will help, but I know nothing about gardening, so we'll need some expertise from community members. And that's all I had.
Code enforcement,
I have some complaints, Mayor.
on code enforcement.
Yes. I've had complaints of, the area of South Loop and Coleman Circle, an abandoned house there that's grown high grass and trash and rats. And
Do you know the address?
I do not. I tried to
Okay.
obtain that, but I could not. Also, there's a house at the corner of Huff and 24th Street. One address on GIS shows one thing, and then there's another address on the mailbox, so I'm not sure which address that is, but it's right on the corner.
And we have addressed that several times.
It needs addressed, or we need to get together with our weed whackers and go out there and do something, because the grass is almost level with the fence in some places.
Yeah,
And I've seen some signs on telephone poles selling various services. Do we not have an ordinance against that, placing signs on poles?
we do.
There's several around town that I've noticed. That's all I had for code.
Thank you.
Anyone else? MS4,
I did want to make a report on the MS4 and the water, trying to keep our streams clean and keep things from going into our sewer that shouldn't be. So we did fix a sewer issue that we had with water running into our sewer, and it has drastically improved the flow to our Minden plant. So that is one good thing. But anything else that you all see that you think looks funny, of something going into our stream, please report. We want to try to keep our streams and waterways clear.
council comments, Ward 2.
I have some, Mayor. It's back to complaints, but I had a complaint of the yellow sidewalk being marked off by the CNO cleaners right at the corner. That paint needs fixed.
Repainted.
And
I
maybe,
think that is on the list. We're
maybe even-
working on those now.
okay, I've seen them striping the streets and everything. It looks good. Maybe even a no parking here at the corner sign. There was one parked there the other day. A lot of times I'm coming through in a rollback and I can't make that turn anyway, but I was in a car and I couldn't make that turn. They were hanging out. I had to go the other way. And another item is where are we at on the deeds for the Minden Parks?
I think, did you tell me they were ready? You just needed to send them to me.
Good. And the flood plan for Minden, are we planning to move ahead on that? Are we still waiting to hear something from FEMA?
We're still waiting on, we found out what we cannot do with the money, so we're still trying to talk with FEMA and find some other options for the area and some way, and other ways we can use the money.
And lastly, I know I asked several months ago, it seems, about some street lights along Mendon Road, especially from the split at McKinney down through to the bottom of what we call Daisy Hill.
And Day, we did look at that. Can you remember?
The bottom of the hill where the trailhead is. Where the Park Service trail.
There was one that we couldn't do. There was nothing, there were no poles.
I got a list of several poles where they come in and replaced and put in the new poles. If we could look at those, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Ward 1,
I talking about the yellow paint, the building right beside the bank, that corner right there. When you come up that street and you try to turn right, they're parking right on the corner. So, I mean, you gotta literally go out in the other lane to get around. So if they could. Oh. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Perry.
No. Jones Avenue, it's been suggested to me by a former councilman, Missy Wilshire, and she said it was okay to use her name, that we look at and consider one side parking on Jones Avenue. In discussion with the District 9 Jim and Demita, it would require, it's state highway and it would require their looking into. So I think Missy had a very good point, but I'd suggest that some information be gotten on that. Thompson Avenue, folks, it is a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, we've talked about for police, for fire, for anyone. All of those houses through there have off-street parking. And I'm not suggesting all, but I'm suggesting we look at Thompson Avenue to consider either right or left and transfer it to one side parking. Ever gone down through there? Again, a fire truck, ambulance, I know you can go through there, but it would be much easier, quicker. So I'd ask that we look at that, Demita, with a recommendation for the next meeting. I've brought up many times, or 12 or so months, about 7 roads we looked at, or streets. One particularly is Lee and Rhodes. And at that time, the former city manager said I'll stand corrected, but there was a suggestion perhaps that we go on an honor system and maybe be talked with or something, but it ain't happening. If you get down to the corner and try to go left, that last 2 houses on the left going down. So I would ask that be street signs go up to say off-street parking on the left side going down from right past or right beyond the apartments to the end where Rhodes turns left. And again, someone said, I think Diane said something about turning. It makes it difficult to turn on the roads. So I would ask that we put, and it's been discussed before, signs up. The other thing is summer work. And I had talked to Demita and she talked to Mr. Kirk, which you're ahead of me as usual. The yellow side, governor used to have a program. And we were very good with you painting the yellow. And it's no fault of yours. You've got much more to do than but if we can concentrate on some of these yellow corners and so forth with those youth. I think it looks good. It would be advantageous with some of the issues we're talking. And with that said, I know you're using students in cooperation with the Board of Education. And this is just a look at, okay? Could you look at perhaps any parked monies? And money's no good for government if you don't use it. It's to provide services, perhaps to provide Mr. Kirk some additional youth, which helps the youth too. You know, we're faulted continually, not faulted, I won't say, but what are we doing for you? Perhaps maybe he could employ 2, 3 additional persons to assist. If, again, Madam City Manager and Valerie's in the background in there already with her adding machine out. Was back there. If we could look at it and on the that Mr. Kirk feels it would be advantageous and the monies would be there. Don't want to bankrupt the kitty. Don't want to delve into any of the rainy day fund, so to speak, but please consider that to give him assistance because he has undertaken a great deal with the park and the other projects he's doing. So I don't want to see him overloaded. I don't. Because you rob from Peter to pay Paul, you get in trouble. But please consider that. Thompson Avenue, summer work, Jones Avenue, and roads. I'm not asking to consider it. I'm saying we've considered it. We've looked at it. Now it's time to put the signs up. Wolf Creek, could you give us a real quick update? Because a lot of rumors flashing around out there about Wolf Creek. What's being proposed or discussed or considered or?
With Blue Water
Yes,
Development.
yes. I mean, if the council wants to hear it, everyone may be aware. And public's here and we get faulted all the time for, there's a large number of people here. Maybe they'll be glad to hear.
Blue Water Development has approached our sewer utility and asked us to extend sewer to Wolf Creek Park for a development that they're planning on, a recreational development that would be for recreational campers, lots for those, like a campground, but also it would have a welcome center and pools and different facilities that would be, I believe they may call themselves Jellystone Parks. So it's just an area where you could go and have fun and they have asked us they've given us their expected water usage and they've asked us to consider treating that sewer. We have given that information to our engineer and he is in the process of looking at our ability to accept that flow at the Minden water plant. And just as I told you, we have decreased the flow by several 100,000 gallons by fixing that one incident at Pea Ridge. So we will be discussing that at our sanitary board meeting on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. We will have our engineer will be here and also some people from Blue Water will be here to discuss that.
This Wednesday?
Yes, at our sanitary board meeting. So that is on our agenda and we will discuss whether we will provide them with a willing to serve for that development.
And part of that is that we would annex it, right? As I understand.
That has not come into the negotiations.
So
we would have to have either the URA come in before it starts, or we could discuss with them coming in.
And kinda, aren't we? Yes, and Mr. Falcon can speak to this maybe. Whether they annex or not.
We still have to provide them
What
service.
I thought. But at this point, it's your professional opinion that there would have to be improvements.
There will have to be improvements
Adjustments.
to our
able to
collection
do that.
system, yes.
And with that said, I would commend you because I know you've already contacted persons in Charleston, you have, for perhaps additional funding. So I would commend you for that, looking ahead and foresight. And I'm blowing smoke. You're doing one heck of a job, girl.
Thank you.
So I just thought it was good for council to know what's, and you're also, Chelsea Ruby, who is the tourism gal, has kind of an assignment out of Charleston to make this happen. Right, wrong, or indifferent. So there may be some pressure forthcoming on the city manager and the city council. So that's an awareness thing for everyone at this point. Other than that,
Any future agenda items? Hearing none. The next city council meeting will be on June 12th, 2023 at 5:30 in this room. Meeting is adjourned.
It is 8:04.
this is the